Today is the 14th of April, 2019. It's a Sunday, and we're going to study SD 47.11. SD volume 47, Sutta number 11. Actually, it's a set of suttas, a set of also verses by a number of monks with the same name, Uttiya. So the title of this chapter is a generic title. It's called Uttiya and Friends. Right? It's on page 105. Teachings related to monks named Uttiya. Okay? Now in the suttas we often find names of monks which are not unique. In other words, you have also other monks with the same name. Uttiya is one of them. Apparently, Uttiya probably is a personal name. In other cases, the monk or the audience is addressed by Gotra name. This seems to be popular in the Buddha's time. In fact, nowadays, I find that most Indians do not use their Gotra names. So you have to actually ask them what their Gotra or clan is. This is one of the kind of things I like to do if I meet a traditional Indian. I'll ask him what is his Gotra. So I've met a couple of Bharadwajas. I'm very happy to meet them. So this Bharadwaja, as you know, is a very well-known Gotra name or clan name in the Buddha's time. You have many Bharadwaja brothers and others who became arhats. And then you have another famous Gotra, that is Kondanya or Kaundinya. So it is also another Gotra name. Then of course you have Kashyapa. Okay, Kashyapa incidentally means tortoise. So these are the Gotra names. So you find these are well-known Gotra names in the suttas, and when you use Gotra names, of course, you're likely to have quite a few people too. Like Bharadwaja, there's so many of them, more than half a dozen. Interestingly, we rarely get the personal names of those monks. For example, the Bharadwaja brothers, they are all given nicknames, right? For example, there's one Bharadwaja who scolded the Buddha, so it's called scolding Bharadwaja, Akosaka Bharadwaja. Then there's another one, probably his brother, who performs rituals beside the river Sundarika, so it's called Sundarika Bharadwaja, and so on. Then you have names that reflect the family relationship. For example, Sariputta. Sari is the mother, Putta means son of Sari. So Sari here is a feminine word, mother's name. You have another one called Malunkia Putta. Probably is also the mother's name. So sometimes in the Burmese text, for example, you see the word is Malunkia with a long R. But very often when a word like that is in a compound, like Malunkia Putta, so the R is shortened, Malunkia Putta. So you have to kind of guess, or you have to know beforehand, does it refer to the father or mother? Okay? So in this case, it probably refers to the mother, Malunkia. So Uttiya is the name of this monk in this sutta. I have actually selected one sutta. It's called the Savatthi Uttiya Sutta. Okay, Uttiya of Savatthi. Okay, this is from S47. How he became an arhat, right? So this is a Uttiya from Savatthi. And we're not so sure beyond this. There are no more details about him, right? So there are many such arhats. We don't know much details about them. But in the spirit of the sutta, you find personal details are not so important. Usually we don't get much personal details. It's the teaching that is important. So here again, we begin to see this, the drift of the Dhamma, so to speak, the spirit of the Buddha's teaching. What is the focus? You find in other religions, they place a lot of stress on genealogy, on family relationships, on names of people, even times of events. But in Buddhism, you find it's not easy to get the timing of the Buddha's birth. For example, the year the Buddha was born, you find there's around at least a 50-year difference between the traditional date and the scholar's date. So in the case of the Buddha, a safe bet would be, you can say he's born around 480 BCE and he passed away on around 400 BCE, so he's 80 years old. The reason is the Dhamma is seen as something timeless, ahistorical even. It's a teaching which is suitable for all humans and for all beings. This is something very interesting because if you look at all the different world religions, let's not talk about the smaller religions. When we talk about the world religions, we can ask ourselves, who does that religion address? Who do that religion focus on? Judaism, one of the oldest world religions, focuses on a particular race, a tribe, okay? Israel, or the Hebrews. So it's very man-centered, if you like. It's not even earth-centered, it's not life-centered, it's a tribe, a group of people, very historical. And you see this very interesting, very uncertain relationship between this Hebrew God, if you like, and the Hebrew people. And the Hebrew people suffered a lot. You know? Now, what's interesting is you begin to see this kind of idea being used in movies nowadays. There is a show on TV called Lucifer, this series, and here you see the struggle between this character, Lucifer, who's a devil himself, Lucifer, morning star. He's wondering why his father, that big God up there, made him do all these things that he has to do. All right, so there is this struggle there is this humanity in all of us, so to speak. But very soon we will have to change this word. From humanity, maybe you have to use the word spirituality, perhaps. Then you have Christianity again, very human-centered. Islam, human-centered, and these are all tribal religions based on the ancestry back to Abraham, so they're called Abrahamic religions. Then you have Taoism, Confucianism. They're not really religions, but they're kind of Chinese philosophies, again, very human-centered, very society-centered. Then you have the Indian religions. Most of the Indian religions are human-centered. They talk of gods and so on. And then you have Buddhism. Now the question is, on whom or on what does Buddhism center? We can say that Buddhism does center on human beings, yes. But if you look at the 5 precepts, the first precept is not to destroy life. It doesn't say just human life, it just says life, prana, breath, okay? Whatever breathes. So we can say that, in a sense, you can say Buddhism is breath-based, but that's quite tricky. You can talk about it in a spiritual sense. Buddhism is breath-based. I often talk of Buddhism as the tradition of the breath. There's nothing new here, because there are famous meditation monks in Myanmar who actually teach this. There was once this teacher, he just points to his tongue, he says, the whole of the Tripitaka, the whole of the Dhamma is here, in your breath. Okay? Breath is life. So we can say then that Buddhism is life-centered, life-affirming even. Now, why I'm making a point of this is because Buddhism is now 2,500 over years old. And in this new world of ours, this modern world of ours, you find it so connected to the internet, and you have a choice of all these world religions. You have better information, more information about them, and you also have access to the traditional texts, the early Buddhist texts. So there's no more excuse now to make up your own Buddhism, to start introducing new stuff and revising things. We have this early Buddhist text. Now the next thing we should ask ourselves is, what about the next age? Now we are going to outer space, going to the moon, going to the Mars and beyond. What if we do meet intelligent aliens in the future? Now you see there are like 15 races in the Star Trek series, more than 15. And then the Star Wars also the big list of alien races. Some of them very intelligent. Some of them are cybernetic, like the Borg. I don't think they can be ever religious unless they begin to think for themselves. And then you have, like in the Star Trek series, this very interesting sky people called the Nods. They are like devas. They live in the celestial. These mountains floating in the sky, and their houses, their palaces are there. So the question now is, in the future, if we do meet all these aliens, how would they look at Earth's religion? How can they relate to it? I mean, definitely, say the Klingons or the Bajorans and the Cardassians, they will never be able to relate to the Abrahamic religions because they don't belong to that race. So there must be something that can connect to them. Now they all breathe, so they can understand breath meditation. And we talk about life, and they are alive. So in that sense, I would say they can relate better to Buddhism. Right. So this is a bit about Buddhism and spirituality of Buddhism, and the future religion, if you like. Okay, now just coming back to this Sutra of ours. So you have these various uttiyas here. In fact, on section 2.1, you can see there are 4 uttiyas mentioned, sometimes also called uttika. Okay, and the first uttiya is from Savatthi, and you have this where our sutta is mention his name here. He has around 4 or 5 or 6 suttas to his name. And today we have a look at his sutta, how he became an arhat. And then the uttiya number 2 comes from Pawa. Pawa is near where the Buddha passed away. So we only have his verses, the Theragatha 51 to 54. And we have uttiya number 3 is from Kapilavatthu, the Buddha's birthplace. In this case, we also have his Theragatha, verse 99. And you have another uttiya number 4 from Kapilavatthu also, but he's a lay person, house lord, and he's only mentioned in the Kathavatthu, so we don't have any teachings from him except mention of him. All right, so now the uttiya number 2 from Pawa has a group of friends. So let's look at the verses of his friends. Okay, he has 3 friends, right? Actually, he's one of the members of this group, led. I'm not sure who's the leader. It could be Godika. Okay, so this group of monks are called Godika. A monk called Godika, another called Subahu, one more called Valiya, and then you have this Uttiya Thera himself. No? Okay, so let's look at his verses. Before that, there is also this Theragatha of Uttiya Thera, the one that we are going to study today also. So let's look at his verse first. page 106, 47.11 brackets 3, SD 47.11 brackets 3. Sawati Utiya Teragata. This is Teragata verse 30. When illness strikes me, mindfulness arises in me too. Illness is arising in me. It is time for me to be heedful. And this is very simple advice, very practical. So next time you visit someone who is sick, this is something you can say. If you can remember the verse as it is, that's nice. Otherwise, remember the essence of it. Basically, when you meet someone who is sick, you say, well, be mindful. What does it mean to be mindful when you are sick? There are various kinds of reflection for a sick person. A sick person feels pain, discomfort. So we meditate on feeling. What is pain? What is discomfort? Where is it located? So if you reflect carefully, you find there's the body aspect and there's the mental aspect. Right? So you find the body aspect is not so bad because that's the nature of pain. And then the mental aspect is what magnifies it or dramatizes it. So this explains why certain people have a higher threshold of pain because they do not dwell on the pain. They do not blame others for the pain, for example. They just take pain as it is. So this is one aspect of mindfulness. Another aspect of mindfulness during sickness is to cultivate loving kindness. It's basically to be happy, so to speak, to accept yourself as you are and feel this sense of joy, peace inside you. Perhaps one day some biochemists would do some experiment. It would be very interesting to get a biochemist and work with a psychologist and study the chemistry, human chemistry of a human in thinking various kinds of thoughts. Let's say when this human is happy, okay, what are the chemical reactions in the mind of this person? All right, so in other words, what I'm saying here is that when we do loving kindness meditation, you have this happy juices, okay, endorphins flowing, and that helps us to be happy, to be at peace, and so on. Now you will notice some of your friends, some people looking very young, even when they are quite advanced in age. And you have another person of the same age and he looks very much older, very tired or haggard and so on. The interesting question is, why do some people age faster and some slower? Now you find generally people who don't age so fast, people who they are pleasant, they are generally happy, they take things lightly, they're kind, right? And those who have very negative emotion, dark emotion, tend to kind of reflect in their body, in their faces too. So that's one hint we have. So it has to do with the chemical processes in our body and mind too. So it will be very interesting to study the chemistry of meditation or Buddhism from a chemist's point of view. There's a lot to talk about there. All right, so now we have another friend of Utiya is called Godika, the Godika Teragata, section 5, SD 47.11, brackets 5. Godika Teragata. The verses of the elder, Godika Teragata 51. The rains fall like sweet music. My little heart is covered, cozy without rain, and my mind is well still or well concentrated. Therefore, rain if you wish. Okay. Now this is similar to the verses of Daniya Sutta in the Sutta Nipata, right? Now, so here is a feeling of security, of being untouched by the world. The rain here represents the world. You get wet in the rain, if you're uncomfortable, you might even fall sick. So here, to this person who's meditating, Godika who's meditating, he hears the rain and says, oh, it's like music, you know. Music of the falling rain. Why does he feel rain is like music? Because it's nature, maybe it's a warm night, a warm day, and he feels happy when he hears rain. And somehow rain does give us a sense of feeling of joy. Say for a farmer who has to grow crops and the crops needs water, for example. Of course, we talk of timely rain. Here, Godika is happy because he is in his hut. He's safely meditating in the forest hut. And of course, we must assume that the hut is well made, well thatched, so rainwater doesn't go in. Very often, some of these huts are made of leaf. Okay? Of course, they would use large leaves. They kind of weave the leaves together. Locally, they would use palm leaves, like coconut tree leaves, because the leaves, there are many of them in one shaft, so they will kind of pile that up together. That's one. And you have to like touch them closely so that water doesn't go in, and the leaves point away so that the water will run off the roof. So his heart is well covered. So here, well covered is a symbolism for keeping the precepts. His mind is, his senses are restrained, and his mind also is well controlled before it becomes free in meditation. So he's happy. So notice it says, my heart is covered, cozy, without rain. So the world out there is raining. So rain, in a sense, represents worldliness. And yet he says, sweet music. You know, so because he hears the world is beautiful. That is because he's away from the world. But those who are caught in the rain will not say the same thing. Now the reason is given in the third line. It says, my mind is well still. So he's very happy, very peaceful. When you are in deep concentration, your mind is very peaceful. Even the slightest sound is very beautiful because your sense is stimulated. So he's talking as a meditator, in other words. Therefore, rain if you wish. Right? So he says, well, it doesn't matter to me what the weather is, I'm happy. Whatever suffering there is out there, it doesn't touch me. So this is a meditator's song. Then in section 6, you have Subahu. Subahu Teragata, the THA 52. Now you find these four friends, Uttiya and his friends, Subahu, Waliya and Godika, their verses are all about rain. Okay? The theme is rain. The rain falls like sweet music. My little heart is covered, cozy, without rain. And my mind is well concentrated on my body. Rain, therefore, rain if you wish. Okay? So notice again here, you see the verses are very similar. In fact, you'll find lines A, B, and C are the same. Only A, B, and D are the same. Only C is different. Lines, the third line, line C, showing the different kinds of meditation that these monks are doing. Now, in the case of Godika, he just says, my mind is well still. He's kind of focused, right? But not yet attaining dhyana, or he has just emerged from dhyana. So he's able to hear the sound of rain, and it's very beautiful to him. Now in the case of Subahu, in Teragata 52, he says, my mind is well concentrated on my body, so he's doing body meditation, right? Body-based meditation. Here is quite a broad set of meditation. He could be doing breath meditation, He could be doing is watching the movements of his body, the nature of his body, or you could be even reflecting on the four elements. Okay, so it's a set of meditation here, and he's very focused and he's very happy. Then there is Waliya Theragatha, the verse of the elder Waliya, Theragatha 53. The rain falls like sweet music. My little heart is covered, cozy without rain. Therein I live diligently. Therefore rain, rain if you wish, right? So here's a general statement, diligent. So we know diligent is one of the first teachings in Buddhism, the one quality which you should cultivate. Diligent means right effort. Keeping moving, not giving up. So here he is going on with his meditation. He's enjoying it and he's not slacking in his practice. So he's very happy, whatever the weather is out there. Someone who is going out to socialize or to wander about, of course the rain will be something rather distracting. Okay, then we come to Uttiya himself. No, not yet. This Pawa Uttiya rather. The Uttiya, the elder Uttiya from Pawa, Theragatha 54. He says, the rain falls like sweet music. My little heart is covered, cozy without rain. Therein I dwell without a partner. Therefore rain, rain if you wish. Okay, here we have a monk. He's speaking as a monk, as a renunciant, and also as a celibate renunciant. So he says, let the world be as it is. The rain represents the world. But here I am happy all by myself. I'm happy being alone. I'm alone yet not lonely, right? So lonely has a sense of sadness, a sense of deprivation, and so on. So now, without a partner, now if you look at the Pali word, it says adutiya. Adutiya. So literally translated as without a second. Without a second. Okay? Without number two. Okay? Without a partner. So notice here, we cannot translate Pali literally all the time, right? So if you literally translate this line, it says, therefore I dwell without a second. It doesn't sound very right. Of course you can say without a second person, but it sounds a bit strange. But if you translate it idiomatically, or in idiomatic English, you would say without a partner. So this is a kind of celebration of renunciation, of celibacy. Verses like this are vital for us today. It is even more important if you are a monk, you are a renunciant, or you plan to renounce the world, let's say you are an anagarika. You have to know the suttas. The suttas is what defines Buddhism. The sutta is the Dharma. Because if you do not know the sutta, then you are in danger of being washed by the world's rain, or carried away by the floods of the world. We have Sinhalese missionaries in the US, for example, who make remarks like, they say, the way we see things in the US, we have to reconsider how we treat women, how the monks treat women. In other words, how the monks should not be too distant from women. And recently, there's even a photo from one of these monks hugging a woman. He holds this little placard, says free hugs, with a smile. And this is a very shocking picture to see a monk in monastic robes hugging a woman. It is something very clear in the rules. So number one, it shows that this monk doesn't even know the very basic rule of being a monk. Take this line, for example, it says without a partner. Of course, we can say it's not just that one act. It's rather we have to consider what does it mean? What does this lead to? What next? So you find that once you are close to a woman, then this relationship is going to build up. The whole idea of the Vinaya is to set apart a monastic, a monk, from women, from the world. It's not that women are bad. Rather, it's a choice that the renunciant, that the monk has made. He has decided to take this path where he will transcend his senses, where he will rise above the 5 physical senses, especially sexuality, to go into deep meditation. Because the jhanas is an experience of the mind directly, the mind that is free from the body. And this kind of mind is so joyful and happy, and one who emerges from this kind of meditation, the mind is very clear and is able to see impermanence, suffering and non-self more clearly. But you need jhana for that, and to have jhana, your body must be free from the senses. To be free from the senses means also free from sexuality. So this is the purpose of being a monk, right? So we have this very essential spirituality in Buddhist practice, which a renunciant must be aware of. So this is the meaning of the phrase adutiya, or this word adutiya, without a partner. Now then we have as 47.11, brackets 9, Kapilawatu Uttiya Theragata. Theragata 99 here. You notice this one is a little later on. The previous Theragatas are from Theragata 51 to 54, right? So it's like they are a group of monks. So here we have a different, this monk is called by himself, Kapilawatu Uttiya Theragata. Now his verse goes like this. Hearing a sound, his mind is confused, who attends to a pleasant sign. With lust, the mind senses and remains attached to it. His influxes grow. He continues in samsara. Right, so here we have this teaching, very broad teaching here, right? A kind of reflection on the Dhamma in terms of renunciation. And here this elder is talking of renunciation in terms of sound. He says when we hear sound, when the mind sees it as pleasant, then you get caught up, you see, with it. Now, this word confused is very interesting. Because when you say confused, the meaning in our head means, this mind gets muddled up, gets lost, right? Because it is fused together with this sign. The sign, by the way, is an idea that we make up, a projection of what we experience. So the mind is confused. Now, if you look at the word confused, I think it is a Greek here, Latin rather. Con meaning together, and fuse means to be melded, to be mixed. Right? So his mind is normal by itself. It is in this sound and is lost in it, thinking that it's very nice. Okay, and that is lust. Lust is what holds the mind, imprisons the mind in the sound. So the mind is lost to other experiences, in other words. The mind loses sense of itself, so to speak. And the mind's energy is all directed into this experience. Imagine you have the 6 consoles, the 6 monitors called eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, right? And suddenly all the other 5 consoles just shut down. There's only one, the sound or ear console is working. So you do not know what's going on at the other 5, in the other 5 areas. So your security has been breached. So this is an example of lacking in mindfulness. So here, when a person is caught up with seeing sound as pleasant. What's the problem here is that it is the thinking that builds up, conception, manana. There is this conception building up. That is the problem. Now there is a story in the Sakapana Sutta where you get Panchasika coming down with his veena. He plays music to the Buddha while the Buddha was meditating in a cave in northern India. And at the end of it's a love song, by the way, he was playing on his lute. The Buddha actually praises him. The Buddha says, "You have sung very well. The music is well played, and the lyrics are well sounded, if you like. In other words, the sound is clear and good, and the music flows with it." So he's talking about, if you like, the dynamics of the music. He's not talking about the mechanics of the music. He's not talking, say, "Wow, I like this music, it's very pleasant." Okay, he says it's properly sung. The words go with it. So here is where it's very important. We have to understand the difference between thinking and feeling. All right. If you think of the music, then you become attached to it in a negative way, right? But if you just feel it, it's the joy that you experience. Not really the music, so to speak. It's the joy that you experience. And when the music is finished, okay, the joy ends, so to speak. But then the memory of the joy is always with us. It's just like we recall Beethoven's symphony or Mozart's sonata, and we feel happy. All right, like that. We don't think about it, so to speak. So music is meant to be felt, not thought. Meditation is meant to be felt, not thought. So that's the link there, right? So here we see this Uttiya. He's saying that in the case of someone who is lost in sound, there's a lot of thinking going on, and from there you have craving arising. The mind is caught up with the senses. The mind is not free in itself. So because of that, the influxes grow. And this is the reason why I translate asava as influx rather than outflow, right? Or cankers even. These are some of the translations which other translators have used. The asavas are influxes in the sense that when we are unguarded in our senses, these sense data, these thoughts flow in through the senses and flood our minds. Our mind become cluttered and flooded, and so we can't think clearly. Okay, so this is one simple way of understanding the word influx or asava. And when these influxes grow, then we get all this feeling of liking, disliking, and then we begin to continue in our existence. We are reborn in ignorance. So that is samsara. So we continue, we are caught in samsara. So this is, notice the words may be simple, but this teaching, Theragatha 99 by Uttiya, is very profound. So here again, we are reminded, the suttas give you this short verse, but when you know the Dhamma, there is a lot you begin to see in it. Okay, now there is this quite long Apadana from Uttiya Thera. I'm not going to read this one. This is a pious story about some good deeds this person did in the past, and then is rewarded for it. Okay. And there's another one also, 11. So we go into the... So actually, we have finished this part of the sutta. Huh? Can you think of it? So let's see now this sutta. Any questions on this sutta? We have finished most of it actually. They're the key suttas of Uttiya. So basically, this series of verses show the group of monks, one of them is Uttiya, and they are meditating and they are reflecting on rain. It's one aspect. And you find another one, there are other monks with the same name, Uttiya, and they also became renunciants and they became arhats. Okay? And then we close with Savatthi Uttiya Sutta. This is the one which talks about Uttiya, the key person is from Savatthi. This is not from Theragatha, this is from S47.16. This on page 113. Is the paging correct? Is it 113? All right, this is a short sutta. We look at this sutta, then it's just nice to finish off our study for today. Né? This sutta shows how the Uttiya of Savatthi was awakened. The discourse on Uttiya of Savatthi, S47.16. This sutta is also called Arhata Uttiya Sutta, the Arahathood of Uttiya. Originating in Savatthi, then the Venerable Uttiya approached the Blessed One, saluted him, and sat down at one side. Sitting down at one side, the Venerable Uttiya said this to the Blessed One. Okay, before I go on, you notice in section 2, there is a 9-point note in square brackets, 2.1, right? Okay, this is an embedded cross-reference. So there is no paragraph marker there. So it just simply says 2.1. That means you look into the introductory note 2.1. Okay, so you see something about him. Okay, 2.1. Right? Just check. Is that correct? Huh? The 2.1 is the list of Uttiyas. Section 2, Arhats named Uttiya. It's just number 2, is that? Okay. Anyway, the new version is online. You can look at the new version. All right. Anyway, just to tell you the convention here, right? So this is what he said to the Buddha. Section 3. It would be good, Bhante, if the Blessed One were to teach me Dhamma in brief. Having heard the Dhamma from the Blessed One, I would dwell alone, aloof, diligent, executive, and resolute. This is stock phrase, taking leave of the Buddha to go into retreat. So this monk feels he's ready to go for solitary meditation to attain awakening, to attain arahathood. And usually they do. Then the Buddha replies, section 4. In that case, Uttiya, purify the very beginning of the wholesome states. Or another way of putting it is, purify good at its roots. And what is the beginning of the wholesome states? It is moral virtue that is well purified and view that is straight. Then, Uttiya, your moral virtue is well purified and your view is straight. Depending on that moral virtue, based on that moral virtue, cultivate the focuses of mindfulness, the four satipatthana. Okay? And then the Buddha defines the four satipatthana. Now here, the Buddha only mentions two key teachings, sila and ditti. It's very interesting, right? It doesn't mention the three training, it just say moral virtue and view. Moral virtue, sila, deals with our body and speech. This is the first training. In other words, before we do meditation, before we train the mind, before we cultivate the mind, we have to cultivate our body first. So a true practitioner must be bodily cultivated first, physically cultivated first, and then only he's able to be mentally cultivated. Bodily cultivated means morally virtuous. It means the body is restrained. Body is restrained means you keep the first three precepts. Not killing, not stealing, not committing sexual misconduct. And number 4 is speech, right? Body and speech. Right? Speech, we habitually, or we train ourselves to speak timely truth, to speak what is unifying, what is pleasant, what is beneficial. These are the qualities of all right speech. So the idea of restraining the body and speech is so that we do not break the precepts. Now, what happens when you break the precepts? At the point where we're breaking the precept, we're not mindful, we lack loving kindness, we lack wisdom, we break the precept, right? And someone suffers as a result. Okay? Once you get into this very calm, peaceful state of meditation, or you're going to get into this calm, peaceful state of meditation, then you look back. Your mind is clear. Then you begin to recall the past. Okay? You begin to look back and say, oh dear, I have broken this precept. I've done something wrong, this and that. Okay? So you feel guilty, your mind gets lost, all right? We're on page 113, is it? 112. So when your mind gets drawn into this kind of dark thoughts, it's very difficult to meditate. You feel sad, you feel lost, you feel guilty, right? So this is where we reflect on moral virtue. Now, there's a problem here. I mean, it's not like from day one until now, we'll be keeping the precepts. Or you have to think of all the actions. It's not like that. When you're meditating, you think of those moments that you have kept the precept. Now, this is one of those very moments, right? Listening to the sutta, sitting peacefully here. That is why it's very good to recite the 5 precepts. Take the 3 refuges, 5 precepts before listening to the Dhamma. So you reflect, when you're going to meditate, so you reflect, you say, okay, I've been listening to the suttas, or I have attended certain retreats, and during that period, I have kept the precepts completely. We have not broken any of the precepts, okay? Even for 1 hour, like now. So you feel happy when you think of that. That's called silanusati, recollection of moral virtue. And from there you go on to cultivate concentration. You go deeper, right? So this is how we train the mind to be happy. So moral virtue, well purified, then the view is straight. Your view doesn't go haywire here and there. You can look straight, right into true reality. And how do we look into this? What are our tools to look into true reality? They are called the 4 focuses of mindfulness. And here the Buddha defines us in this well-known set of teachings. What are the 4? What is satipatthana? Right? This is section 7. What are the 4? Then you see the small caps. This is the subtitle, okay? Contemplating of the body. Here, Uttiya, dwell exertive, clearly aware, mindful, contemplating or watching the body in the body, removing covetousness and displeasure in the world. Okay, so this is the first passage. Make sure you understand this, and all the other 3 passages, they follow the template system. Only 1 word or 1 phrase changes. Right, so here in this training, now you're going to go for a retreat, this is what you do here. Dwell, that means practice, exertive, put in your effort, clearly aware, do not lose yourself, and keep yourself fully aware of what's going on. Watch the body as the body. Do not let your mind stray from it. Removing covetousness and displeasure. These are two opposites. Covetousness is the idea of being drawn to something that you like, something you think that you like. Displeasure is seeing what takes you away from that object of pleasure. So there's a like and dislike. This kind ding-dong battle. This is the essence of the 5 hindrances that confuses us from our focus, right? In other words, the purpose of cultivating, of watching the body in the body, is to keep our mind focused. This is the body-based meditation, the most famous of which is breath meditation. So as you focus on the breath more and more, you watch the breath, you find hindrances fall away, distractions fall away, your mind becomes more focused. That's the meaning. Number 2, contemplating feelings. Here Uttiya, dwell, exertive, clearly aware, mindful. Contemplating feelings in the feelings, removing covetousness and displeasure in the world. So this, when your breath is settled, you feel happy, you feel good. So just watch those feelings, they're impermanent. Number 3, contemplating the mind. Here Uttiya, dwell, exertive, clearly aware, mindful. Contemplating the mind in the mind, removing covetousness and displeasure in the world. So once you let go of the thoughts, let go of feelings rather, the thoughts remain. You start thinking, did I do this? What happened here? Right, so those are thoughts. Again, you just let go of the thoughts. Notice, you do all this to remove covetousness and displeasure. You watch the body, letting go of liking, disliking. You watch feelings, letting go of liking, disliking. You watch your thoughts, letting go of liking, disliking. And then number 4, this is the most difficult one, contemplating dharmas. I'm not translated to English dhamma, I use the word dharma because it has a broad sense here. The main one here is realities, which also can include teachings of the Buddha. Here, Uttiya, dwell, exertive, clearly mindful, contemplating dharmas in the dharmas, removing covetousness and displeasure in the world. So here, dharmas are, for example, Four Noble Truths, the mental hindrances. So as you meditate, these ideas will come to you, right? But these are special kind of ideas. They are real, okay? So again, you neither like them nor dislike them. You just let them come, let them go, let them rise, let them fall. This is where wisdom is arising inside you. Benefits of the practice, section 8. Uttiya, when depending on that moral virtue, based on that moral virtue, you cultivate the 4 focuses of mindfulness, then Uttiya, you will go beyond Mara's realm. You'll be free from the world. Mara has no hold on you because you attain jhana. Jhana blinds Mara. So the Buddha's teaching ends here actually. The Buddha says, well, if you are able to train yourself in moral virtue, you direct your views correctly, you are free from suffering. So there are many ways of saying this. You go beyond Mara's power. Then the Venerable Uttiya, being satisfied, rejoiced in the Blessed One's word, rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on the right, departed. Then the Venerable Uttiya, dwelling alone, aloof, diligent, exertive, and resolute, in no long time at all, right here and now, having realized it for himself through direct knowledge, attain and dwell in the supreme goal of the holy life, for the sake of which sons of family rightly go forth from home, from the household into homelessness. So this is the famous arhathood pericope. Show that this monk has gone into meditation, and this is the purpose of being a monk, and he has succeeded. He directly knew birth is destroyed. The holy life has been lived. Done is what is to be done. There is no more of this state of being. Right? Notice this, no more, nothing more to be done. Right? So all those latest wrong views saying the Arhat still needs to practice are in direct contradiction to this teaching here. Right? So the Arhat is totally free from suffering. Remember this Arhathood review knowledge pericope. And the Venerable Uttiya became one of the Arhats. So there you are. That's about all we know of Uttiya. He became an Arhat. And this tells us also the nature of an Arhat, right? That he has done his work, everything is done, he's no more reborn. Right, so we end this study here. Any questions or feedback?
Yeah, I ask you a general question.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of these suttas, we have stories of holy people who go to the Buddha and ask the Buddha how to get to a higher level, so to speak. And the Buddha will teach them a certain method. So my question is, when these people go to the Buddha at that stage, they are already actually very learned monks or something like that. Not the casual kind of novice sort of thing. I don't know whether that impression is true.
Yes.
Because if you're a novice, all this may be a bit too high for you.
As a rule, yes. As a rule, generally, here we are talking about someone who has gone through, let's say, 5 years tutelage. Tutelage is just like what you call the internship, So that is learning the ropes, basically, how a monk lives, walks, and so on. And then studies the Dharma. That's why the 4 focuses of mindfulness given in brief. There's not much explanation there, because the details are given in another long sutta. So this monk, he might have been a monk for 5 years, 20 years, Like in the case of Malunkyang Putta, wow, he started as a young monk, but he only took this request, asking the Buddha to leave when he was very old, and the Buddha kind of joked with him a bit. He says, "Oh, so you're going for a retreat now?" Oh, the young monk said, he's very old already. But anyway, he was quite serious. So some take long time, but there are special cases where they hardly become monks, they already attain. There's one case here of Bahiya. Bahiya, he was a victim of a shipwreck, and then he survived the shipwreck, and then he landed in Bombay area. He walked across to Savatthi where the Buddha is, and he meets the Buddha still as a layman, as a wanderer. And the Buddha taught him while standing like that. He became an Arhat, and he had no chance to even get his robes, so he couldn't get ordained. So he didn't get all the proper gear for a monk. Now, once you're a monk, any strong bad karma, they will just ripen, so you don't have any more karma to stop you. So in this case, this bad karma, there was this woman he had raped long ago, and she had vowed to kind of take revenge on him. So this woman has been born, either one version of the story says it's a goat, and another one says it's a cow with horns, you see. So this animal with horns kind of charged at him and killed him, and so he died. But he died an Arhat. And as a layman Arhat, that's another interesting thing, right? So some of them, sometimes it can be quite fast. But generally, yes, this is the more usual.
Most of the stories, they end up becoming Arhats.
Yes. So these are the people who have followed the flow, if you like. Some take longer. Most of them would be stream winners, for example.
Because I was thinking, if you don't have that background, the teaching may not be effective on you.
True, that's true, yeah. On the other hand, we just need one teaching to start with, that is impermanence. That's all. All right, you can forget about Abhidharma, all these deep teachings, but just impermanence. Keep that as part of your personal training. Whatever happens, tell yourself, what impermanence do I see in this? How is this a lesson in impermanence to me? And you see, it doesn't affect you like it would affect others who are not so wise. And then something else you notice in the overall pattern of life. The reflection of impermanence is your pathway, is your way to the path. We have not reached the path yet, but once you reflect this way, you reach the path of awakening, then kind of smooth flow. How long, of course, depends on your karma. But you're sure it's like you got a ticket and then you're on the train and it's going to reach the destination in due time.
Have you heard of black pastor?
No.
African American, called Dr. Ray Higgins.
No.
Recently, I mentioned this because you say that one of the key elements is impermanence. So in this lecture, it's a lecture by Dr. Ray Higgins. He talked about the downfall of Christianity. And what I want to mention is that Dr. Ray Higgins says that Christianity hangs on one thread. Just like in Buddhism, let's say, hangs on one thread or whatever. So that thread is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And he goes on to show that all this is nonsense, all this is all fiction. So he gives a lot of reasons, a lot of history going back to the Greco-Roman Empire, the Egyptian pharaohs, and this and that, to prove to you that all these are actually fictions. I mean, all this Easter, resurrection, Holy Communion, Christmas, all these Christian things.
The additions,
fictions. And he says that the one thread that Christianity hangs on is the resurrection. So as more and more people come to disbelieve this key thread, the religion.
So your point is?
So the point is, I'm trying to mention that if you want to single out one very fundamental element in either Buddhism, Hinduism, or Christianity, according to this pastor, that is the resurrection. Because sometimes we all believe in, let's say, the birth of Jesus Christ, which is more important.
Yes, I think we should not generalize too much. Here, the idea is, what should I do for myself? That's what's important. Because sometimes we try to bring in too many things, it becomes difficult. Then our strength is lost. Then we keep on asking the same question decade after decade, one thing about reaching 70, you begin to look back and see some younger people you see some of them are really happy, mature, but some of them amazingly are just like when you first met them 50 years ago. They've not really changed. They are still narcissistic as before and so on. So the idea of change is very important in Buddhism. So we have to focus and tell ourselves, this is what I need, and this is the way that will bring me to a clearer understanding of what the Buddha taught. Other people can talk a lot of other things, that's fine. But what do I see in myself that can make all these decades I've lived meaningful for me? So this understanding of impermanence will show your life has been well lived. And when you look at others, you say, if only these people know this simple truth, they will be happier. They would not be frozen in their past, still as narcissistic children, despite their professional qualifications and so on. So you know something that they do not know. And of course, if people come to you and ask you, then you find they benefit, especially when they come to you with an open mind. You see? So you must be ready with this truth. And we must not water down this truth. Then they have too many things to think about. They already have their own views, so it's very difficult for them. That is why I always focus what I teach, you see, so that you don't go back and then you ask yourself, what did he say? Whereas here, you know very well what I try to say is impermanence, that's it, So focus. Now is the time that we focus our ideas so that we can practice. And with that practice, we'll make our life really full. We look back as something to celebrate. Okay? All right, anything else? And now we end here, huh? Okay, so we're more than halfway through this book, right? Okay, let us just close with a short reflection. Every week, every time we come for this study, time passes, and we have this opportunity to recall all that we have learned. We try to see a common thread, a kind of key idea that will help us enrich our lives, give us a clear vision of how to move ahead. And this is the idea of impermanence, reflecting on impermanence. In a sense, all the major world religions do see some kind of impermanence, but it's a matter of how we deal with this. The idea is to see this impermanence as part of our actual life itself. Then we begin to grow, because growth itself is an experience of impermanence. Reflecting in this way is very good mental karma, but the power of this good karma and the three jewels, may we be blessed with good health, happiness, and the courage to at least aspire to stream winning in this life itself. May our supporters, our family, loved ones and friends to be well and happy in the Dharma. May those who are lost, may they too see the true teaching and return to the path in this way, in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.